the thought of like what I would be doing was I was going to be working with a school that was also kind of a sponsorship program, and I was going to be the discipleship coordinator. So more or less the fun aunt that comes in and does like team building activities and Bible lessons and stuff like that. But even honestly, even as I like first landed in Malawi and first got started working with this school and stuff like that, which this wasn't anything against the school. I just was praying a lot, and I felt like the Lord was saying, like, this isn't forever. And so I was like, okay, like, I won't be at this school for forever, like, but this was kind of the point. Like, this was kind of why I came here. So, like, Lord, what is that? I don't really know what to do with that, you know? And so, yeah, so kind of just as the year went on, I don't know if you've ever felt this before, but sometimes when the Lord is trying to like move you out of a place that used to be like somewhere where you loved being, now becomes somewhere where it's like, man, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go in. And I'm not saying that's always the case, you know, like if you're like, I don't want to go to work, you know, sometimes suck it up, buttercup. But this was like, I could feel that there was like something deeper with it. Like I was just like, I really feel like the Lord is like making this, like just like internally, like I was like, I'm not supposed to be here anymore. And I just feel that. Not necessarily in Malawi, but in that school. But again, that's a little bit intimidating. Like this was the whole point of why I came over here. And I also loved those kids, like, and I still love those kids. And you get to build relationships with them. And so anyways, long story short, when I went back this last time, so in August, because I was home for the summer, and then when I went back in August, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. Like, I guess this is faith, right? Like, God doesn't always give you the next step. He just tells you this is, well, he doesn't give you the next 4 steps. He just tells you take this first step, right? So I was like, okay, well, you know, I guess I'll do this. So I stepped down at the school, and kind of as I did that, and even before I did that, even as I was kind of like transitioning out, one thing in Malawi, which I would say this is everywhere to some degree, but it feels magnified in Malawi, is there's a lot of street kids. Maybe this isn't everywhere. Sorry, I'm just processing out loud. But there's a lot of kids that, like, when you go to, like, anywhere in town, anytime that you, like, even remotely stop your car, you're going to have probably at least 2, if not, like, 4 or 5 kids that come up to your windows, and they have kind of a script that they usually say. And so they'll, like, hold out their hands, and they'll be like, Mama, njala, which means hunger. Or they'll be like, Ndalama, like, give me money. And they kind of just say that over and over and over again. It's them begging for money or for food or whatever. And so more or less, like, what I decided was I'm not going to treat these kids like they're not there. And so there's a lot of opinions on, like, don't feed the street kids, don't, like, give them anything, like, whatever, like, just kind of, like, ignore them and keep going, because it's not an empowering way of life, and it's not, like, a good way to live. So the more that you give into that, the more that they want to keep doing that lifestyle. So that was what a lot of people had told me, and what I noticed was a lot of people just kind of look past them. So it's just like they'll come up to their car door, and the people just ignore them completely. And I get it. It can be a little bit overwhelming when you have 4 kids in your windows, like, give me money, give me food, give me whatever. But I started to, as I learned Chichewa, which is their language, I started to be able to just, like, talk to them. And so I started to build relationships with them. And what I did is I would keep a box of cookies in my car, and so I would just give them cookies. I don't ever give them money, but I would give them cookies. And I started to just keep up with them, and I was like, hey, Sam, how are you doing? Like, hey, Mpambano, like, how's your mom? Whatever. So I started to kind of learn their stories and their life. And there's 2 different, like, groups of kids that I kind of got connected with just through, I don't know, having conversations with them. There's a group of kids that are, like, a little bit older at this place called Crossroads, and there's a group of kids that are a little bit younger at the place called Gateway. So there's, like, a couple different groups. They kind of, like, don't interfere with each other's territory, more or less. because the older kids, like, they're tough and they don't want the little kids hanging out with them. And so the little kids go and beg somewhere else. And these kids have all kinds of backgrounds. Like some of them do have a home to go to, but there's 7 kids at the home, so there's not enough food. So somebody's got to not go to school and go and beg. Or some of them don't have a home and they just sleep on the streets. Or some of them, like the older kids, a lot of them team up together and they rent like a little house in the village. Things like that. So they come from all different backgrounds and stuff like that. And so I started to just kind of build relationships with these kids. And I also got kind of partnered up with, there was a friend from church who also kind of had that same heart for like these kids. And so we started to just build relationships with the kids, and we started to like see like, man, there's need everywhere, right? Like just because I'm stepping away from the school doesn't mean that like there's not somewhere else to step into. And so we started to kind of dream together of like, okay, well, what if we started some sort of ministry that kind of like empowered these like vulnerable kids and also kind of gave them some hands-on tools to make a living outside of just begging. And some of them, to be honest, like some of them like begging, and so some of them maybe will never change that lifestyle. But also some of them just don't have the tools. And so, so we're like, well, what if we did something where we can kind of partner the gospel with some sort of like practical life skill and kind of teach them both the gospel and that they'd like have value, and then also kind of teach them like the practical side of like, and this is how you do mechanics, or this is how you do something just to like kind of make a living. And so we kind of started to dream about that, and we're like, okay, I think we should move forward in registering this. And with that, we had a few different like ideas within that. And so we're like, well, we want to be at least somewhat self-sufficient. We want to be like wise with the funding and stuff like that. And so we were thinking one huge need is hunger. Everybody's hungry there. There's just not enough food. And so you'll see kids that like, you see every one of their ribs, like they're just hungry, And so one need is food. And so we're like, okay, well, maybe in our program, what if we fed them at least like every day that they're with us? And so one of the main meals that they eat is nsima. Does anybody remember me talking about nsima a while ago? Okay, yeah. So nsima is just like corn flour and water that you like boil the water and then you add corn flour and just keep mixing until it's like a thick, like kind of like Play-Doh. Kind of looks like mashed potatoes, but like the texture of Play-Doh. And then you eat that with like vegetables, or if you have meat, which that's a little bit more rare, like meat or whatever, or soya pieces, which is just like fake meat. And so, so their main meal is nsima. So we're like, well, what if we rented some fields and grow some corn so then we don't have to be buying this corn flour all the time. So if you want to hop up, there's a couple pictures of the field. So we've rented 4 fields. This is the field. This isn't obviously corn. This is ground nuts. So we have 2 fields of ground nuts, which are kind of like peanuts. So you could make like peanut butter. They also like grind it up to make it like a spice. And then we also have a couple fields, 2 fields of corn. So these are our fields. I'm really happy because they're going really well. So these are our fields. We have 4 fields rented all together. I would say, Dad was asking me like, how big is each field? I would say each field is about an acre. So like about 4 acres worth of fields there. So this was the idea, was like, okay, we want to also create some like kind of self-sufficiency a little bit. So with that, we're renting some fields, growing some crops so that once we launch our program, we'll be able to like have our own ufa. Ufa is flour, sorry. Yes, so if you want to go to the next picture as well. Perfect, okay. So this is one of the younger kids that we met. So this is Mpambano in the blue. So can you turn to your neighbor and say, Mpambano? Beautiful. Turn to your other neighbor and say, Mpambano. Mpambano actually means intersection, but that is his name. So I don't know why. But so this is Mpambano. Real quick story about Mpambano. We met him on the streets. So he and this is my friend Patrick that I'm starting the ministry with. And so me and Patrick were sitting in the Gateway parking lot. We had just gotten something, I forget, like groceries or something. And at Gateway is where the younger kids usually beg. And so I heard a little voice say, Mama Hannah, which is what they call me, Mama Hannah. And so I heard Mama Hannah, and I like look around, and like hiding behind a tree over here was little Mpambano. And he was like hiding behind the tree because if they go into the parking lot, then they get chased off by the guards. So he was hiding, and he was like waving at me and kind of like putting his hand out like, can you give me a cookie? Because they know that I give out cookies now. And so, yeah, so he was like, and I was like, come over. And they're allowed to go into the parking lot if somebody like calls him over. So I was like, yeah, come here. And so he came over, and we started asking. I was with Patrick that day, so he knows Chichewa, obviously. Patrick knows Chichewa a little better than I do. So I can get the like surfacey, fairly like surfacey questions. But once it starts going a little bit deeper, I kind of start losing it, just because I'm still learning Chichewa. So since Patrick was with me, he started asking some like deeper questions. He's like, well, where are you staying? He's like, oh, I stay in Siliza village, which is where a lot of the kids stay. And we're like, oh, okay. And then he was like, who do you stay with? And he was like, I sleep on the benches in the market. And we're like, okay. So usually the younger kids, at least in this area, they at least have somewhere to go. So this one, he didn't have anywhere to go. And so we're like, you stay on the benches, like, why are you staying there? And he was like, it's just me. I don't have anybody. We're like, do you have parents? Like, did they pass away? Like, what's your story? He's like, yeah, no, I have parents, but they live far. We're like, what do you mean they live far? He's like, I ran away. My siblings were like making fun of me, and so then he was like, Basi is like, forget it. He's like, Basi, like, I'm just gonna run away. So anyways, so we're like, well, dude, like, is it better on the streets? Like, why? And he's like, no, like, I want to go back home, but it's so far that I can't walk that far. And I guess on the way in, he kind of like hitchhiked rides in. And so also because of the hunger and because he was pretty malnourished, it would take a lot of strength to walk all the way to his village, which it was pretty far. And so we're like, well, if you want to go back to your home, we can kind of help you get back to your home and kind of, help you get back on your feet. And he was like, yeah, like, I would love that. And most kids don't know exactly how old they are. They know about how old they are. So he said 11 one time, and he said 12 the next time. So 11, 12. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll talk. And so we came back the next day, and we picked him up, and we got him some new clothes, and we got him a backpack and some school supplies, and we took him back to his parents' home. And when we got there, it was crazy because it's very, what they call kumudzi, which is like very village, like very deep village. And so it was very deep village. So like even the fact that there was a car driving through the village, everybody and their mother was like, what is happening? Like, what is this? And so we had like everybody at the car when we got out. And so they're surprised that there's a car in the village. They're surprised there's a white girl, and then they're very surprised when Mpambano opens the door and he walks out, and everybody's like, oh, Mpambano, like, they're like, go get his mom, like, Mpambano. And then they're like, he's grown, like, he's so much bigger. He had not been there in like over a year, so he'd been living on the streets for over a year. And so we got him kind of like reconnected with his family, which was just really incredible, like, not us, like, it was the Lord, but he was able to use us. And so he got reconnected with his family. He's off the streets, and we go back every few weeks just to make sure, like, sometimes that's a hard adjustment. If you've been living on the street for a while, to go back into, like, a normal home is hard. So, so we go back and we check in on him, and if there's any, like, school fees or anything like that needs paid, we kind of support him and his family through that. So he's kind of, like, more or less the first kid that we have started to support, which has been really a sweet journey. So you can go to the next picture if you want. Okay, so these are our older boys. So like I said, there's two groups of kids. The older kids hang out at a place called Crossroads. These kiddos, I say kids, but they're older. They're like anywhere between, I think the youngest is like 14, and there's some that are like early 20s. So they're older. But these ones, mostly Patrick, my friend, kind of gets to minister to. But we kind of like built this relationship with them, and then at Christmas, we did a Christmas party with them. So it was just some games, and then food. Sorry, forgot the word. So then like a meal. So just like rice and beef and beans. And they loved the beans, for the record. So, you know. Anyways, so this is that group of kids. That's also been like a really cool journey, because when we started to like just build friendships with them, like they also beg, and we started to just be like, dude, like, where do you live? Like, whatever. And so we took them out for lunch one day and just started to like learn their stories. And a lot of them have been street kids since they were little. Now they're older, and so it's not as cute, but it's the life that they got used to. And so these kids we kind of just started to build relationships with. We did that Christmas outreach, and then at the Christmas outreach, they were like, dude, why don't we like build a football team? Football is soccer. And they're like, yeah, there's enough of us, like we can build a team, which there's not actually enough in this picture, but there's more. Just not all of them were there that day. But so my friend Patrick, he was like, that's fine. Like, he's like, I'll be your coach. Like, we can build a team. And so that's also been like a really cool like little ministry thing that we've been able to do, is like, it's more than just obviously a football team. It's you're building like relationships, and then also like teaching them to work together, because they're rough, dude. Like somebody steps on somebody's foot, it's like World War II. Like they're like picking a fight. Like they're like, oh yeah, come at me. So anyways, so even just like you get to like teach all these like even core elements of even the gospel of like love your neighbor. Like we're together as a team. Like when we're opposing another team, you have to show respect. Like you have to like be good losers. Like you can't just be like good at winning. You also need to have good sportsmanship and all of this stuff. And so so this has been like another really cool, like exciting element of ministry that we've been able to kind of pick up. You can go to the next picture. Yep. And then we've also been able to do just kind of miscellaneous outreaches at different villages. It's very, very, very easy to get a huge group of kids together. So literally, if you go into any village and like, hey, we want to do like a VBS or whatever, you could have a ton of kids just coming. And and so this was in one of the villages kind of nearby. We did like a little outreach, and what we found is a lot of kids really, really love, a lot of people there really love music. And it's just kind of like in their culture, they love to dance, they love to sing, they love music in general. And so, but one thing that is also in their culture is they love music, and so God obviously knows that, but also the enemy knows that. And so they have this practice called guliwam kulu, which is where they like dress up all like weird, and then they dance, and everybody just kind of like goes like circles around them, and it's like the cool thing to be involved in guliwam kulu. The problem is it's very, very deep in witchcraft, so it's very like dark, very kind of demonic. But especially with vulnerable kids like that just want to be a part of something, they like this is like bait. Like it's like, yeah, I love dancing. I want to be part of the guliwam kulu. They like accept me. It's like a family. And so anyways, so one thing that we noticed with that is like, okay, what if we could kind of like take this back, and like music was invented, right, for us to worship the Lord. So if the enemy's trying to hijack it, what if we like took it back and like teach them like, no, like you could sing and you could dance and you could like worship. Like David danced before the Lord with all of his might, and that was worship to the Lord. And so, so kind of part of the heart for the ministry, we were like, well, what if we started to also teach like things like music theory and instruments and dancing and things like that, but in a way that is partnered with worship rather than like witchcraft, you know what I mean? And so anyway, so we came up with this name for the ministry called Hope in Song, because also Patrick plays drums and knows a lot about music theory, and I also know a little bit, I'm not a professional, but know a little bit, and I'm passionate about worship, I love worshiping, and so, so we were like, well, what if we name this ministry Hope in Song, which also, if the abbreviation is HIS, which that was something that I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. I was like, Lord, I do not want this to be our ministry. I want this to be yours. Like, this is your thing. If you want to start it, you start it, and you open the doors. And if you don't, then close it. Like, don't let us, like, move forward. And so Patrick actually came up with a name. He's like, what if? He's like, I love hope in song. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, because it's his ministry. And I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the name. And so, yeah, so Hope in Song is the name. And we went ahead and started registering this last year, or the last, honestly, few months, and we are now fully registered, so that's super exciting. And yeah, so we are fully registered, and the last little, sorry, I'm wrapping up, I know I'm talking a little long. The last little exciting news is right before I left, we had found this, because we were kind of looking for a location, like, that we could actually build on and have, like, a home base kind of thing, rather than just kind of bouncing around. So we were praying and looking for a location, and somebody called us and was like, hey, I heard you're looking for land, whatever. And we're like, yeah, what do you got? And so they were like, yeah, we have this 10-acre field. Right now it's just a field. This 10-acre field of just corn and maize and stuff like that. But if you want to buy it, it's up for sale right now, if you want to come look at it. So we're like, all right, sure, like, we'll go look at it. And we went and looked at it, and it's, I don't really know math very well, so I was like, 10 acres, cool, like, whatever. That's a lot of land. Like, we walked around, and I was like, dang, you could do so much here. And so, yeah, and it was, like, very fertile, very flat land. And so we kind of started praying about it, and then, of course, like, the people kind of started pressuring us, and they're like, somebody else is looking at this land, you should hurry, like, whatever. We're like, okay. And so we prayed about it, we sought some counsel. We're like, is this a good idea? You know, like, I don't want to be just reckless with, you know, funds and stuff like that. And so, like, I don't know. And so we decided we're going to go ahead and put a down payment on the land. So right before I left, we actually paid half of the land. So land's a lot cheaper there. So the total amount for the land was $3,500 for 10 acres. So we paid the half, and then when I go back, we're planning on paying the other half. So then we'll actually have, like, a location. Yeah. So we'll have a location, and it's big enough right now, and even in the future, even after we, like, build stuff on it, it's, like, enough land that we won't have to rent any fields. We can plant on that until we, like, just keep, like, filling it in with, like, a building of classrooms, and we would love to see, like, a soccer field, and just, like, we could do so many different, like, between sports ministries, and then have, like, a stage area if it's, like, hope and song, and you're teaching kids, you know, like, how to worship and how to sing and whatever. So anyway, so we're kind of just dreaming right now, but yes, this is the land here. It's also very flat land, and it's really close to a school, which is really nice to kind of partner with. So anyways, I didn't really think that much about how I'm wrapping up, but so this is kind of what I've been doing. I also just want to, like, shout out you guys and appreciate you guys. Like, I could not be here and be doing this. Like, if you saw me, like, crying and you're like, is Hannah okay? It's also heavy. It's really hard, honestly, being in so much different things, like so many different, like, situations and cultural things, and feeling misunderstood, and then also, like, the weight of, like, seeing poverty and, like, knowing you can only do so much, and hearing stories that are just heavy. Like, I'm good, but it's a lot, and so I couldn't do that without you guys, and so I really appreciate all of you guys, even just for, like, every kind of support, for praying for me, for financial, for all of the things. Like, I couldn't be doing this without you guys. So I wanted to let you guys in on what exactly I'm, like, involved in right now, and also just thank you guys, like, genuinely. I really, really appreciate you all. So yeah, I think that's all that I have. Thanks.
Amen.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to follow along with us on this journey and hear the weekly messages from each Sunday, the best way to do that would be to just hit that subscribe button, and you'll get that notification each week. So we're looking forward to having you guys.
Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.